One of the most satisfying things that I can think of doing when a new month or a new year starts is setting up a new bullet journal and a bullet journal spread. So in this video, I will be setting up my January 2023 bullet journal. I'm very excited. I've recently gotten a new bullet journal for the new year. It's a Leuchtturm 1917 journal in an olive color. I did do a yearly setup for the year of 2023. However, I will not be posting a video on it because I did not like how the spreads turned out. But I did like how my January setup turned out. Which leads me to the theme of this month, which is lavenders. I have done this theme before, I believe in 2018. However, I loved doing that theme. I thought drawing these lavenders was super satisfying, so I wanted to do it again, and this time in different shades of purple and a little bit of pink, even though I know that it's not realistic or necessarily accurate to the real world, but I still wanted to do that. I have changed the way I do my cover pages, at least for January, because I didn't want to do something too intense with a huge quote. I wanted the cover page to be more simple and more minimalistic than usual. So I did that, and I did a tiny monthly view of the year there. I realized that I need more space for actual monthly view where I jot down all the important events, which is why I didn't do it in that half a page. I need two whole, sides of the paper to do that. I really enjoy doing these lavender doodles, and it's great because I don't think it's that easy to mess up. I think it's very fixable if you don't like how it turns out, for example. But I really liked how these lavenders turned out. I think they're super cute and I'm obsessed with them. I'm gonna be very sad when the month is over, even though that's, in a lot of weeks from now. But I've just enjoyed doodling these so much that I really just don't want the month to be over so that I can continue doodling them. I really like using Jelly Roll markers or pens in white to fix my bullet journal mistakes, at least the small ones, because it looks more less intense than a liquid eraser, for example, like a liquid whiteout or a dry whiteout. I also wanted to take this opportunity in this video to talk about different ways that I stay consistent with my bullet journal. I've been asked this for several years. I've been bullet journaling for 5 years and I've had 5 different journals, and I've always been asked how I continue doing it and not getting burned out. I'm by no means a master at it, and I don't have a PhD on it either, but I have realized some tendencies that I do that help me stay consistent with my bullet journal and not get burned out from doing it. Of course, there are months that are lazier than others, because because of moods or time, availability and things like that. So there are months where I don't do a cover page, but I do the essential spreads, and I think that's still me being consistent with my bullet journal and still using it, which brings me to the first tip, which is doing spreads that work for you. I feel like sometimes we see in social media different spreads that are super beautiful and super creative and that work for a lot of people, but they don't work for you. And it's okay. You should experiment with your bullet journal. I think that's what it's all about, experimenting with different organizational systems. However, if you've tried it and it's just draining to do a spread, it's too, you put too much work into developing the spread, creating the spread, or just, replicating the spread, and it doesn't work for you because you don't end up using it, then I think a good idea is to discard it. I've noticed that tracking my books in my bullet journal, while I really liked how the end result looked, I dreaded doing it because I always forgot to fill in my little books with the book titles and or coloring them in and things like that, and I just didn't enjoy doing it. So I took it out of my journal this year. I don't have it because I don't use it, and it's, draining for me to have it, kind of mentally, because you feel bad for not doing it, but you shouldn't, because if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you, and that's completely fine. So yeah, what I do is I keep the amount of spreads that I do for the month and for the year to the least possible. So for example, in this video, you're going to see the cover page, the monthly view spread, the trackers page, and the weekly spread. And that's all I do. I don't do other spreads that I know won't work for me because I've experimented with them and I've tried them out. So yeah, I think that's one of the best things you can do, just being okay with taking out spreads. Even if they worked for you before and they don't work for you now, it's completely okay to remove them from your spreads. It's not about forcing yourself to get back into the habit of using those spreads if they don't fit into the lifestyle or that you have, or onto the type of goals or organization that you want to have. And it's sometimes sad because we really want to use these specific spreads, but if it doesn't work out, then I think that the best thing you can do is just let go. Which sounds very deep, but I'm just talking about a bullet journal. So yeah, the second thing is to keep very simple designs. I think, so again, social media has kind of made us think that bullet journals have to be super decorated, super creative, and yeah, they're nice to look at and everything, but if they're not functional because, you just dread doing doodles, and you don't have to include doodles. I think there's different ways to decorate, and repeating a theme, I think, is a good way. If you like a theme, how it looks like, and it's easy for you to do, then I think it's completely okay to replicate it in different months. For example, if you like drawing a particular type of flower, you can, a simple doodle of a flower, you can do that every month with a different color, and that way you can differentiate the months. It's not about making your spreads the most beautiful or the most complicated designs. It's about being functional and realistic with your bullet journal. So yeah, that's something that I've also noticed. I no longer do super complicated butterflies or ocean doodles because I know that I can't keep that up. And yeah, I think the third tip, which I've been following, particularly in the beginning of my bullet journal journey, was having a particular time in which I bullet journal. In my case, it's while I'm eating breakfast and then at night before going to bed. I also use my bullet journal during the day to just, because that's where I do my to-do lists. But in the case of trackers, I do them in the mornings and at night, or when I finish a particular task. Now, in the beginning, it wasn't that so much because I had to get, accustomed to doing it. And I think, yeah, that's one of the ways that in which I developed this tracking habit. I also, this is gonna sound really weird, but I've noticed that I'm more motivated to fill in my trackers when I do this calendar, like kind of like squared shapes to do it. When I've just written like a calendar and I have to like draw a circle on it or cross an X on it, I am not motivated. When I fill in with a marker the entire square of that day, it's satisfying for me and I want to do it, which is very strange. And I don't know if this happens to anyone else, but maybe that can be, something that is a game changer for you as well. Or maybe it's just me that's very particular about the way I cross off lists. But it's weird how that influences my brain sometimes. But yeah, I like doing also a minimal amount of habits that I track. Like I mentioned before, I want to make my life easier. I don't want to force myself to track everything in my life, just the most important ones for me and that I want to continuously do. These have been the 5 habits that I've been tracking for the past 2 years. And I don't put too many, like I said. If I want to do something repeatedly, but it's not one of those habits, then I add it into my to-do list. If it's, something that I don't do every day, but it's like, once a week, I add it into a to-do list. And I don't track it. Now I'm moving on to my weekly spread, which I have been doing for the past year or a little bit more. I love this weekly spread. I do want to experiment and try out this new weekly spread that I've been thinking of. Because one of my bullet journal goals for this year is to limit the amount of journals I use. Because I use like 3 different journals for 3 different types of to-do lists or different types of lists. And I really want to limit that. I want to be more mindful of my bullet journal and more conscious of the space that I use, which is why I want to try this new weekly spread that might help with that. But I've been using this one for the longest time, and it's been working for me. So I think, that leads me to the 4th tip, which is finding spreads that are repeatable and that are easy to do and that work for you, so that you can replicate it constantly and eventually it just super quickly to do, because you're already accustomed, to the spacing, to the design, to doing it, and it's very quick to do. This particular spread I can do in less than 5 minutes, just because I've done it so many times that I already know how many spaces are in between that I need, for each day space. I hope that made sense. So yeah, repeating spreads and finding one that really works for you is key to maintaining consistency. So yeah, I think those are my main 4 tips that I would recommend to anyone that wants to keep being consistent with bullet journaling. Again, I also think that bullet journaling is just one system of organization. There are so many, like using a virtual calendar, using an already made agenda, a planner, using, again, digital to-do lists. There are so many different resources out there, and bullet journaling is just one method. So if it doesn't work for you, that's okay as well. did add some simple quotes because sometimes they're nice to look at and they kind of add to the blank spaces in your bullet journal. So I did do this small quote from the book Atomic Habits, which I still have not finished. I am very upset because I've been reading it this last year, 2022, for months, and I still haven't finished it. I'm halfway through, and I really want to, finish it, get it done with, and kind of like learn from it more. I think it's a good book, and it has some really great tips. It's my first self-help book, if you can call it that, and I really liked it. I've been liking it so far, so I do really want to finish the book this year, and hopefully in January. I need someone to keep me accountable. I added these random words to the cover page because I did not feel like doing another quote page. So then again, I didn't force myself to do it. Implementing the tips I gave. So yeah, this is an overview of my January bullet journal setup. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a great day.